Thank you all for coming. The following information applies to all participating candidates unless a group is specifically excluded. First, if you are not in the Precinct 1 County Commissioner race, we ask that you take a seat in the reserved seating area on the left of the stage. This is David Hale. He is chairman of the Hunt County Republican Party and is serving as the timekeeper this evening. He will give you a signal when you have 30 seconds remaining in your response. I am Allie Corrales, president of the Hunt County GOP Club, and I will be asking the questions for the forum this evening. Thank you for coming again.
Are you able to see the clock, okay? Do I need to tell you 30 seconds, or do you think you'll be able to see it?
Okay, we will begin with the candidates for County Commissioner, Precinct 1. The 3 candidates running for the Republican slot in this race are already seated. Each candidate will make an opening statement of up to 1.5 minutes. They will each have 1.5 minutes to answer each question posed to them. Then they will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Mr. Dalton, you may begin with your opening statement.
Let me make sure the mics are on here. If you'll just leave them on. Right, let me reset the clock. Okay, ready?
My name is Dan Dalton. I'm a Republican candidate for Hunt County Commissioner Precinct 1. I'm a lifelong resident of Hunt County. I graduated from Celeste High School in 1994 and from Texas A&M University Commerce in 2008, where I obtained a bachelor's of business degree with a major in accounting. Since my graduation in 2008, I've worked with both private and public entities as a safety coordinator for 6 years and physical security manager for North Texas Municipal Water District for the last 5 years. I hold many affiliations for my current position, including American Society for Industrial Security, North Texas Fusion Liaison Officer, State of Texas DPS Fusion Liaison Officer. I also hold many certifications for my current position, including critical infrastructure protection. I believe the best way to represent and lead any district is through trustworthiness, and the best way to build the amount of trust needed to effectively and efficiently represent or lead anyone is through honesty, integrity, accountability, and dependability. I will bring all the attributes necessary to achieve optimal trust from the residents in Precinct 1, as I never give up on what the people that depend on me deserve to better their lives.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Commissioner Evans, you may begin with your opening statement.
My name is Eric Evans. I'm the current commissioner of Precinct 1, Hunt County. I've served, this is the 7th year as commissioner of Hunt County. I have a daughter that's working on a master's at the University of Houston, and a son that's a senior at Celeste, where I graduated in the 1990s. Mr. Dalton also graduated. But I also graduated from the last class of East Texas State University in 1995 with a Bachelor of Science. After that, I worked in the financial services industry for 8 years for both Southwest Securities Financial and First Global. My family has a long history of service to the community. I've served on the school board for 6 years there at Celeste as youth sports coaches and on several boards and whatnot as in the community and at the church where I attend. There are many issues facing the county right now due to the growth that's coming from the west and that require experience, and also the ability to work open-mindedly with the other commissioners, court, and the judge, and the other, be able to work within the government codes and to know how to handle the situations. I'm asking for your vote again for this position as Precinct 1 Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Mr. Hutchins, you may now begin with your opening statement.
Yes, hi. My name is Mark Hutchins, and I'm a candidate for Commissioner Precinct 1. I'm a lifelong resident of Hunt County, stayed for 1 year. We got back here as fast as possible. Just had to go marry my wife and get her back down here. My family has been here for generations and has a long history of civic service. And I myself have been an activist within the Republican Party for over a decade now, since I could vote. And I've done everything from campaigning for various candidates to attending county and state conventions, working within the Republican Party of Hunt County, and eventually served as chairman of the Republican Party of Hunt County for, I don't know, approximately 5 years. We don't have to agree on that. I've worked for approximately 6+ years in the legal field, where I work in litigation and real estate, business, counsel, corporate law, and I believe this is one of several things that qualifies me for this position. I've served on multiple boards of directors for anything from pro-life pregnancy resource clinics, Rockford Clinic here in Greenville, to nationwide organizations that advocate for small farmers and business owners in the policy arena. I believe that commissioners, first and foremost, need to be people of energy, need to be people of principle and wisdom. I believe that my records show that I'm committed to the principles of limited, efficient, and effective
Thank you,
government.
Mr. Hutchins. We appreciate your opening statements. Moving on to question 1 for Commissioner Evans. What is the most pressing issue facing county commissioners, and how do you propose addressing it?
One of the most pressing issues right now is how to deal with the budget and the things that the unfunded mandates that are passed down from Austin. This past session, they passed a tax cap of 3.5%, but it had so many amendments there. It's unclear right now how to handle it as a county. We don't know how it's going to affect us. And so one of the most important things right now is to be cautious in our spending, and we've gone forward because of our valuations here in the county, because of the growth that we have additional money that we've had, but a lot of that has been set aside for capital projects that we have planned, whether it be roads or the jail or work around the courthouse. But at the current time, we're building a long-term plan, but at the same time, you've got to be cautious because of we don't know how the tax cap is going to affect us in the long range.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Moving on to Mr. Hutchins. What is the most pressing issue facing county commissioners, and how do you propose addressing it?
I would agree that new growth is posing one of the biggest challenges that we have coming up. But specifically, we have to address how to integrate new growth into our community while also being protective of the taxpayers in our county. One of my highest priorities as commissioner is to protect taxpayers from unreasonable tax burdens. As I go around the county or my precinct rather and talk to people, that is absolutely far and away the number one thing we talk about. People are not happy about the fact that they work for years and years, they build a life, and then they buy a home, and then the appraisals go up, and that's fine. We understand that there's a limit to what the county can do about that. But they're very frustrated when the county then does not take opportunities to pass on tax breaks, or at least not the amount of tax breaks that they could. We have a large cash surplus, and I certainly understand that we have capital projects upcoming, but some of those projects that are not close to being ready for those funds. But in the meantime, people today have a problem with their bank accounts and bouncing their checkbooks. And I believe the taxpayers need an advocate on the Commissioner's Court. I'll be that advocate. I'll advocate both responsible spending, and at every opportunity possible, I will return to the taxpayers their hard-earned money that they deserve.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchins. Mr. Dalton, what is the most pressing issue facing county commissioners, and how do you propose addressing it?
I would have to agree with my other two running buddies here that projected growth coming from the DFW Metroplex as it's spreading westward or eastward and coming into our county. The tax rate is one of the things that our residents have talked to me about, the tax rate that doesn't go down. They keep telling me as the property values go up, they're still paying the same amount, where the tax rate should be going down with the values going up. The other issue that they have is the roads. If they're paying this much in taxes, they should be able to have roads that they can drive up and down without tearing up their vehicles. My plan is to put a proactive system in place, a preventive system in place that will help to get these roads fixed and eventually decrease their taxes so that they're not paying as much and they have roads that they can travel down.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Moving on to question 2. Mr. Hutchins, what are your plans to improve roads in Precinct 1, and how would you prioritize which roads, bridges, and projects receive funding?
Thank you for the question. I believe that they need to be prioritized by need. It's not my understanding that there is a very good rating system in place for putting a numerical rating on every county road, bridge, anything that needs maintenance, so that we are repairing things in order of need. And whether it's fair or not, I think Commissioner Evans may disagree, there is a sense, and I think a reasonable sense, that sometimes the squeaky wheel is what gets greased. Whoever complains the most, it gets their road fixed, not necessarily those who need it the most. So as far as fixing them, I think we need to have a renewed focus on cost-effective maintenance of the roads. I hear a lot of troubling stories about the manner in which the roads are maintained, and certainly we need to bring a little more care and expertise to that. But also we need to be looking ahead to foreseeable maintenance challenges like weather. It surprised me recently to see the Commissioner's Court was taking up the matter of forming a crew to clean the ditches and get things to where the water run correctly so people weren't being flooded out and the roads wouldn't be as damaged. And I would suggest that that's something that should be done in October or September or sometime well before the yearly rainy season arrives.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchins. Mr. Dalton, what are your plans to improve roads in Precinct 1, and how would you prioritize which roads, bridges, and projects receive funding?
Well, I would like to see a more detailed inspection and reporting process put in place so that we can come up with a proactive system for our roads. Something that where we can record any what failures we're having on each road. All of our roads are having failures. We need to be able to record those failures and what we're doing to remediate those failures so that we know in the future that this time is coming up and we're going to have to do that. If we can get more proactive and maintain the roads properly, then we won't be running out to add rock, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get rock out there on these roads because they're slush. I think the best way to prioritize is the amount of people that live on these roads or the amount of traffic. And we have some roads that cut through from one town to another, and some roads that just go out into the country and dead end into somebody's cornfield. The ones that do the cut-throughs that have the most traffic are the ones that need to be addressed first, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Commissioner Evans, what are your plans to improve roads in Precinct 1, and how would you prioritize which roads, bridges, and projects receive funding?
That goes back to what we were talking about the increase in property tax values, and we've got money now for capital projects. Whenever I started as commissioner, and for several years, we basically operated at a year-to-year maintenance budget, and that's all we could do. And as Mr. Hutchins mentioned last week, we voted on a crew that is the first time in this county that we've worked cooperatively between all precincts to add a crew to start cleaning ditches. And he quotes that it was not timely. It is very timely because we just added the money last year in the budget for capital improvements and for this, and this is a huge step for the county in the future and working together to save money, but also to improve the roadways, not just in Precinct 1, but in all the precincts. And it's a huge step for the court to be able to work together. It goes also to say that as far as prioritizing the roads, the squeaky wheel doesn't always get the grease, and that is hard to explain to some people that the squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease, but it's where the most need is. And a lot of those roads are cut-through roads and high traffic roads because of the growth in the western part of the county. We are in the process working with the court of changing several things to be able to better improve the transportation in this county. We've also started on some other long-term plans for the traffic.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. 2 quick announcements. 1, some of our viewers on Facebook having some issues hearing responses. So if you wouldn't mind speaking loudly into the microphone, that way everyone can hear, that would be terrific. Second thing, if the candidates for County Commissioner Precinct 3 could please make their way to the waiting area, that would be great. We are now going to move into closing statements. You will have 2 minutes each for your closing statement. Mr. Hutchins?
Yes, thank you. We live in a wonderful county that I'm proud to call my home, and the citizens of Hunt County work hard to provide for their family and future every day. And they also generously support their community. They deserve to know with confidence that their representatives in county government have their back and understand taxes aren't just a line item on the budget. They are the difference between being able to afford the home they've worked so hard for or having to sell and uproot their family and life. The difference between being able to take that family vacation to a national park or out of state or to visit out of state family or not. They want to know their tax dollars are being used efficiently and effectively to maintain the roads their spouses, children, and friends drive on and keep them in good and safe condition. And they want to know that government is being as transparent as possible, that they have regular, easy, and welcome access to their representative. If you elect me, not only will I employ an approach that is much more proactive in trying to anticipate problems in advance, even years in advance, but I will be as transparent as possible. If you pull out your phone right now or write on something, my cell phone number is 903-456-7088. I will be open and available to all of my constituents to hear your concerns. And not only that, I will physically make myself available to my constituents on a minimum of a quarterly basis so I can meet them, I can interact with them, and get to know them better, and thereby better represent them. With respect to Commissioner Evans, we hear a lot about the budget. And I understand, I run a business, I understand that budget concerns are a real thing, but we elect representatives to solve problems, not to put them off until we grow our way out of problems. And I've been waiting for years and years and years for Dallas to grow this way and give us the money. And what we need is somebody who will put aside that mindset and say, what can I do
Thank you, Mr. Hutchins.
to solve these problems today? Thank you.
Commissioner Evans, your closing statement.
As we've all stated, there are a lot of problems that face this county, and a lot of them are due to growth. And the lack of money we had in the past, and we're in the point we have growing pains now that we're trying to overcome. The first thing you have to do is figure out how to handle the growth with the increasing money, but also with the increasing needs of this county. Law enforcement being one. I believe we have we're shorthanded on the number of deputies that cover this county. Roads are obviously a big concern to my opponents here in this race, and that is one of the things that you have to overcome. And I think one of the things that is needed as we go forward is experience dealing with the court, experience dealing with what's happened in the past, and being open-minded to change and to work on things like the cooperative agreement between the commissioners to work together on roads as a system and put a program in place to handle this growth. As I close here tonight, I ask for your continued support in being able to represent you as Precinct 1 constituents and to be able to use experience to work with this growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Mr. Dalton, your closing statement.
After speaking with residents in the area, I understand that roadways is one of the major concerns for Precinct 1. As I stated previously, one of the certifications I hold is critical infrastructure protection, under which one of the categories of critical infrastructure recognized by the federal government is transportation. This category is recognized due to the amount of precious cargo being transported via our highways across the country. However, I would apply this to the residents using our roadways every day. These roadways that are carrying parents to work so they can support their families, kids to school to brighten their futures, and families to and from their home while going to spend precious time together. That is just as much a precious cargo as the shipments being carried across our major highways. The first thing I would like to do to assist with this issue is develop a detailed inspection and reporting system that will help to track what failures we are having on each county road in our precinct and keep track of what has been done to remediate these failures. This will aid in the development of a preventive system to keep our roadways in optimal condition for day-to-day travelers and, over time, lower the amount of money we are having to spend on the roads to get them back in order, which in turn will decrease the tax rate necessary for this budget item. This will also provide residents transparency and validation of money spent, as well as all work completed and projected costs for completion. As this county is just beginning to hit the growth spurt that has expanded outwards from the DFW Metroplex, we need to instill a more proactive rather than reactive government to ensure our roadways are in top condition to support the amount of traffic that is embodied by this growth. On March 3rd, vote for trust. Vote for proactive government. Vote Dan Dalton for County Commissioner Precinct 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. We will now allow a few moments for the Precinct 1 candidates to exit the stage while the Precinct 3 candidates come up and take their seat. Thank you. We will now begin with the candidates for County Commissioner Precinct 3. The two candidates for this position are seated before you. Commissioner Martin, you may begin with your opening statement.
Is it on now? Well, listen, my name's Philip Martin. I tell you what, I grew up in this county. I went to school at Celeste ISD. Went to college at ETSU, or actually it was a college back then. But then I went to Howard Garrison Academy in Austin. I attended St. Edward's University, graduated from Howard Garrison, and became a highway patrolman. I've been in law enforcement there for about 48 years now. I am a special ranger at this time, still certified, still hold my certification. Do on master certification. Before I start though, I want to tell you about my family. I'm very proud of them. Got a boy and a girl, got about 7 grandkids, and my wife's out there, and I appreciate their support. I believe a person should be a person of integrity. I believe they ought to have Christian values if they're going to serve the people. I've been serving the people of the state of Texas for 48 years, been married 49, almost 50. I appreciate y'all coming. I thank the GOP for having this session this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Mr. Stewart, you may begin with your opening statement.
My name is Charlie Stewart. I've grown up my whole life in Hunt County as well. Went to school in Lone Oak, graduated in 2006. I've been working for Hunt County Precinct 3 for going on 7 years now. I've been involved in all aspects, from patching roads, or blading roads, driving dump trucks. Been in it quite a while. My wife Shannon, and she's a school teacher in Little City. We have 3 children. Laney's 11, Paisley's 6, and Little Steele is 4. And I greatly appreciate your consideration in the upcoming election. Kind of new to this, but I'm very eager to get started and want to serve Hunt County as great as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Again, Mr. Stewart. What is the most pressing issue facing the county commissioners, and how do you propose addressing it?
I believe one of our biggest problems, what I hear all the time, is budget and road maintenance, road conditions. There's, many different types of roads, different parts of the county that you hear different complaints from all the time. I believe the best way to to do it, of course. I mean, you have to take care of your high traffic roads and high population, you know, people, school buses, trash trucks, ambulances, where they can get in and out. But I believe also we need to take care of these roads by need. There's some, of course, I believe they've been gone past for way too long, and really need to get on them and just do what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Commissioner Martin, what is the most pressing issue facing the county commissioners, and how do you propose addressing it?
I want to tell you also that this is very true. I've heard everybody talk about roads and stuff like this, in which in precinct 3 we have improved our roads. In fact, in 2003, 2004, I introduced a deal to where people wouldn't have to pay for an upgrade, but we would mix wrap and oil and call it an improvement. Okay? And we're always talking about roads. I have averaged out 650,000 material for budgets. That takes about 2,000 for each mile of road. Infrastructure is important. That includes the roads, but this commissioner's court for the last 7 or 8 years has addressed infrastructure. In fact, the people have also. They put a $24.5 million bond issue on it, and look what's going on. We worked with COG in reference to getting the loops and stuff like that. Previous Judge Horn was very effective in reference to that. We have the loop going around Quinlan. We have stuff going on 34 and 69. This court has addressed interstate roads, state, U.S., Texas roads, and also county roads, because we have increased the budget, but we can do better.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Mr. Stewart, what is the most pressing issue facing county commissioners, and how do you propose addressing it?
Can you repeat that, please?
Of course. What is the most pressing issue facing county commissioners, and how do you propose addressing it?
I believe the biggest problem facing commissioners, of course, you have to deal with. You have to have a budget. You have to spend it the right way. You have to save. You can't spend it all at one time. You know, you have to save money for future to carry us through each year. And I believe you just have to watch how we spend each year and just be responsible in all aspects of the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Again, the next question is for you. Mr. Stewart, what are your plans to improve roads in Precinct 3, and how would you prioritize which roads, bridges, and projects receive funding?
My priority, again, we're going to do your high traffic in and out roads that cross, you know, from major highways to intersections. And you also need to take care of the ones that are in worse shape. Like I said, just take care of all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Commissioner Martin, what are your plans to improve roads in Precinct 3, and how would you prioritize which roads, bridges, and projects receive funding?
I've already prioritized all the roads. I've already prioritized bridges also. I've built, in the 15 years that I've been commissioner, I'm working on my 16th year. Basically, we've had 65 bridges replaced. I'm talking about bridges. And what I did is I received over $6 million worth of federal assistance or grant money in reference to a rematch. So this is what we're doing down there. We've always prioritized roads. And like I said, you know, I operated a $2 million budget in Precinct 3. Along with the commissioners and the other commissioners, county judge, we operated $61 million. In the past, we've done good to have money, and we always talked about improvements later in reference on upping county budgets. This year and last year, we had capital improvement money put back to where we could do this. And we have been doing it. I've been improving roads ever since I've been on for 15 years. And I know how to handle the budget because I've already proven itself. This is, if we can work together and we have plans to further work together in reference to getting these roads upgraded or improved. And that's the way it is right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Before we get to closing statements, could the candidates for county judge please make their way down to the waiting area? You may now make your closing statements. Mr. Stewart.
Alrighty, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, but it would be a great honor to serve as Hunt County Precinct 3 Commissioner. I would like to be, if I elected, I'd like to be as transparent and put my phone number out. If anyone had any questions or concerns, they could always call me. It's one of those, you know, if we tell you we're going to do something, we're going to do it, and for some reason, you know, something can't be done at this particular time, we're not going to tell you it can be. I'd just like to be as honest with you as I can, and as transparent, and just do the best I can to serve the citizens of Precinct 3. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. You may now make your closing statement, Commissioner Martin.
I want to tell you something. I'm running the Republican primary for Commissioner Precinct 3, and I would appreciate your support. I had a person ask me one time, when are you going to start campaigning? I said, I've campaigned my whole life. I've tried to live a righteous way. I've tried to keep up my integrity and with me as far as telling people what I'm going to do. I don't make promises that I can't take, so therefore I don't make promises because there's too many different ways that can change it. But I tell you what I have done. As a result of my dedicated service to the community, I've been recognized by a lot of different organizations, and I would like for you to pick up one of those lists and read it. But one thing I have done also, I know road maintenance. I used to own a grader. I got a backhoe at home now. I've been out there patching. I've been out there mowing, boom action and all this. I do that to get away from business part of it, to be quite honest with you. But I tell you what's more important, because I've had people doing that. What's more important is knowing what you're doing in the courthouse as far as budgeting, and I've had plenty of experience at it. And the Commissioner's Court as a whole, basically in reference to transportation and all this, which we do need, has been very much held up high. And there, we are making a difference. I've been an advocate for veterans. I've been an advocate for the ARC. I've been an advocate for law enforcement. Basically, I'll do the best job I can, and I want to thank y'all for being, and I ask you to vote for Philip Martin for experience.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Please give a round of applause to the precinct. Mr. Atkins, you may begin with your opening statement.
My name is Jay Atkins. I'm a former county commissioner here in Hunt County. I'm sorry. I'm a former county commissioner here in Hunt County, and I've been a business management professional for most of my career. At the present time, I actually work for a subsidiary of Buc-ee's, which is out in Royal City. And what I decided to get back into this race was because there's so many people around the county who contacted me and asked me to step back into the political arena to hopefully bring a conservative view back to the Commissioner's Court. I'm here hopefully to be able to convince those of you who may have not yet made your decision who you're going to support in this race that I'm a better candidate, have a better grasp of the budgeting and government finance. And I want you to take it before it's over with tonight, when you step out of here, pick up one of my pamphlets out there and look at my website. Pick up the phone and call me on my cell phone so you can learn more about what I stand for and the things that I see, because we have issues within our county government that are not being solved, that have been festering for many years, and we're operating under antiquated ways in many things that need to be changed and corrected. And I hope to be the person that you guys will choose to lead into the future and get things on the right track and make things work for the citizens of Hunt County the way they should. Not the way they promise to be, but the way they should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Judge Stovall, you may now make your opening statement.
Thank you very much. I'm Bobby Stovall. I'm a fourth generation resident of Hunt County. I graduated from Greenville High School. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree from Texas A&M. I've been licensed by the state of Texas as a registered professional land surveyor since 1980. I've owned Stovall & Associates Land Surveying since 1981 through 2019. I owned Kinsey Abstract and Sabine Title Company from 1990 to 2018. I've served the community on the boards of the Greenville Electric Utility System, the Greenville Chamber of Commerce, and YMCA. Having owned successful businesses in Hunt County for 38 years, I contribute my success because I have always followed these principles: to operate ethically, to be conservative in spending, to keep debt as low as possible, to innovate ways to create and improve efficiencies, and to always respect and maintain sight of others' needs and expectations. I have and I will continue to serve Hunt County with these principles in mind and respect the office of Hunt County Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Stovall. As before, candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. The format is enhanced from this point on to allow candidates to have a 30-second rebuttal at the end of each question, if requested. You have a placard in front of you. If you wish to respond to your opponent's question answer, you may raise the placard once both of you have answered initially, and you will have 30 seconds to respond to their response. Each candidate can have up to one rebuttal per question. Question 1. Judge Stovall. When building budgets, there is always tension between the impact on a taxpayer's checking account and a citizen's desire for enhanced services. What principles do you use to balance these opposing goals as you work with the Commissioner's Court to build future budgets?
I think you have to have a business plan in place and have a plan of action for the county. We are currently working to revise the way our budget system works to make it more transparent. And this year we'll be asking all of the elected officials and department heads to give us a 5-year business plan so that we have a better monitor of what we have to spend in the future, which will help us to determine how much we need to spend this year or can afford to spend this year. The determination of the budget also is dependent on your business philosophies. I think the court in the past, led by Judge Horn, started a policy of trying to be able to pay for as we go policies instead of always borrowing money every time we needed something to happen. That's how we have already established a $10 million capital improvement account. Judge Horn's idea was to be able to save up money to pay for the jail once we have to build one, which is going to happen absolutely in the next 10 years. If we built it today, it cost us $50 million. If we can continue to plan and save money and be able to pay for the majority of that instead of going to the taxpayers for a bond indebtedness, which will continue to increase our tax rates for the long-term plans. So my plans is to get a good, solid business plan with long-range planning in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Stovall. Mr. Atkins. When building budgets, there is always tension between the impact on a taxpayer's checking account and a citizen's desire for enhanced services. What principles do you use to balance these opposing goals as you work with the Commissioner's Court to build future budgets?
Well, first of all, you do have to have a solid business plan in place to do what you intend to do. But you also have to take in mind in a county that's in the situation it always is, where we're growing population-wise on an annual basis and adding new tax revenue on an annual basis to the town and county's treasury, that we must keep in mind that as we put these plans in place, we have to make sure that we are not overcharging the taxpayers on their taxes, which has been something that has been happening for the last several years. We probably going to have to build a jail at some point. There's little doubt about that. There is not a realistic vision that doesn't involve having a bond election at some point, because we're not going to be able to take $50 million in extra money over a period of 10 or 12 years from the people to save up for it. Our tax rates are at the highest level they can be without being at the rollback level. It's to the point now where people are paying with combined taxes between county and the other entities. So there's many people in this county that's paying $1,000 a month in total property taxes, and at some point this has to give. Our appraisal value has gone up by over $689 million in the last year, and new property is coming online. We will grow and we will have money come in, and our tax base will increase, and we'll figure it out.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Judge Stovall, you have a 30-second response.
Well, I think that by having a good business plan and being able to move forward is the correct way to go. But the problem, with the growth and trying to cut back on taxes, from my 38 years of experience in growing a company from out of my garage to having over 30 employees, I can tell you growth consumes cash. There's hard to cut back on taxes and hard to cut back on expenses when you're growing, because growth takes money, and it's hard to overcome those things.
Thank you, Judge Stovall. Mr. Atkins, would you like a response?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
You have 30 seconds.
Growth in the situation we're in this county is bringing in additional revenue into the county coffers. We took in over $1 million in new tax revenue from new properties last year. Growth is what got our neighbors in Rockwall County and Collin County where they are today. Growth costs money for infrastructure problems that we're not going to address under the current system, but growth is how we'll get out of these things in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Moving on to the next question. Mr. Atkins, what are the primary 1 or 2 budgetary challenges in Hunt County, and how do you propose addressing them?
The most thing that's most prioritizing that's going to affect the most people in this county as a whole is the road and bridge. It's an antiquated structure. It's got to be done away with it. We're going to waste this year alone $9.2 million doing the same poor quality work we've always done. That's money that's wasted. We need to move to a more professional court system, which if we had a unit road system, you would have people who are more business-minded occupying these seats as Commissioners Court. You would have the ability with that to have commissioners and the county judge work together as a cohesive team to work with the intergovernmental agencies, the boards that the state has to help bring more business and jobs to this county. As you build an economy, you're going to have better budgetary opportunities to grow things that are going to increase tax revenue and decrease the tax rates that the citizens of this county pay. These are the things going forward that are going to make sure that our budget, as it grows and gets larger and larger, is handled without huge burdens of the taxpayers every year.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Judge Stovall, what are the primary 1 or 2 budgetary challenges in Hunt County, and how do you propose addressing them?
I guess it depends on who you talk to and where you live. If you live on the county road or you drive up and down county road every day, you think that the biggest problem in Hunt County and the biggest thing that needs to be fixed and money spent on is the county roads. If you live in a town or you live on a farm market road like I do, you don't necessarily think about the county roads every day. You worry more about your tax rates, just as we've been talking about. So you've got to balance those between. So if you're worried about the taxes, the largest impact that could happen to us at any time is if we have to build that new jail in the next few years. Rockwall's building one currently. It'll be about the same size as what we'd be required to. It's $50 million. If we had to fund that right now, it would be a terrific impact on our budget. The other part of the budget that's so tough to handle is 65% of our budget is spent on law enforcement and the court system. It is growing every year. The state continues to put more and more responsibilities on us in the jail, is that we have to take care of the inmates in many different ways, from the mental health issues that they now make us evaluate every person that comes into the jail, but during their arrest period of time, they have to be evaluated for mental issues. We're going to have telecommunication in there 24/7 by September 1st, so that they can talk to medical providers at any time.
Thank you, Judge Stovall. Seeing as no rebuttal has been requested, we will move to the next question. Judge Stovall, what is another challenge that the county judge will face during the next several years? This can be budgetary or non-budgetary. What would you do to address this issue?
Well, I think the issues we're talking about are the biggest issues that are facing the county, and they're big hurdles to get over. To fix the roads, we have 1,100 miles of roads to maintain. And to improve those, if we were just to grind them up and put a little bit of base on it, it's well over $100,000 a mile. You multiply that out by 1,100 miles, and that's a huge number to overcome. So we can't accomplish that in any short period of time. And to provide the courthouse needs that we have a historical courthouse. We currently have water leaks coming through the windows, and also wind, and our utility bills are expensive. We're currently looking at trying to renovate the outside of the building to protect our building. It's a historical building, and we're required to maintain it. That is going to be another huge process to keep our courthouse maintained. We also have an 8-story exchange building that currently is being occupied by the state. The leases run out in a couple of years. Hopefully we'll get those leases renewed and the state will stay there. If they don't, it's going to become a burden to us on deciding how we're going to occupy that building, whether we take it over ourselves or we have to find new tenants for it. And those are the challenges that I think we see.
Thank you, Judge Stovall. Mr. Atkins, what is another challenge that the county judge will face during the next several years? This can be budgetary or non-budgetary. What would you do to address this issue?
I would think that not only what Mr. Stovall covered, but what we need to do is start looking to bring everybody to the table in a more cohesive, family-type team of Hunt County to try to pursue bringing more employment opportunities to the county and more opportunities for the people who come to our county to work, to stay here, to spend money here, and live here. Because, you know, L3 is a wonderful employer, and I'm so happy to have them, but many of those people leave our county every day to go home. We need to get our county in a shape that they'll want to be here with us. Budgetary issues are going to continue to be a high priority, whether it's the courts, the jail, the county roads. But at the end of the day, we've got to figure out some way to bring everything together, because there is a way to make sure that we provide the things we need to the citizens and still maintain the tax rate and things that was not so overburdensome to them. And that's what the citizens themselves are wanting. So as we move forward, if we can use examples like Innovation First and L3 to bring other businesses to our county to where we can have greater employment opportunities and higher incomes here, because we're a very low income county for here, it'll be something to help the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Seeing no requested rebuttals, we will move on to the next question. Mr. Atkins, what type of relationship should there be between the county judge and county commissioners?
There should be a very professional business working relationship with them. I mean, it just is the way it needs to be. If we have a good professional working relationship, we can get a lot more accomplished. We can make sure that we're doing the things that the taxpayers expect the county government to be done. We can also work with our municipalities closely around the county and our rural residents. We also will have, you know, it's something that I'll keep passion on. We'll have the opportunity, because we're working close together, to work with the intergovernmental agencies like the North Texas Council of Governments, the Governor's Office on Economic Development, spending time doing things that will make, as our county grows, we don't make the same mistakes that our neighbors to the west have done. They got through their problems. The thing that you always learn growing up from your parents and everything is look to the people around you, see the mistakes that they've made to try to avoid making those ourselves. We've done a decent job of that for the most part, but there are things that we can do much more on. And I think going forward to the future, not only do we need to be focusing on government operations, but with the Commissioners Court as a more professional level of people start to come on board, we need to start worrying more about economic development and job growth in the county.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Judge Stovall, what type of relationship should there be between the county judge and county commissioners?
Well, absolutely, the two have to work together. I work with commissioners every day. I try to bring all the leadership that I can to the Commissioners Court. I feel like that's part of the role. I am the budget officer as the county judge. I'm the one that everybody comes to for their first approval if they need a budget amendment or any money changing within their budget. The commissioners routinely come to me with my unique experience of being a registered surveyor. We routinely get 2 or 3 to 5 plats sometime at every Commissioners Court meeting. They come in and ask me how to review them. I'm happy to do it. We look it over and then we get back with the developer or surveyor and make sure that we're getting the right things for the county with this growth, that we don't have any mistakes made during that process. So it's very important, and I'm very proud that over the last year, that since I've got in there, I've been telling the court consistently, we cannot continue to fix roads the way we have the last 50 years. And over the last several months, we have finally got everybody in agreement. As the commissioner said earlier, we're starting a new road crew that's going to be totally funded, not out of their budgets, but out of the capital improvement budget, to put on a special crew just to be specialized in getting our drainage fixed on our roads. So as we improve them, they'll hold up. It's not that we're trying to get out and stop flooding or whatever. We're trying to get ready to fix roads. And I think because the courts work together, we're going to get that accomplished.
Thank you, Judge Stovall. Seeing no rebuttal requests, we will now begin to move on to closing statements. But before we do so, could the candidates for state representative please make their way to the waiting area? Moving on to closing statements. Judge Stovall.
Well, thank y'all for having this tonight. For all those who put it on, I know it's taken a lot of work to get this put together. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and give my views of the county judge's position. I think that my 38 years in business here gives me some unique experience on how to run a business. I spent 38 years making decisions that when I make a mistake, it didn't cost anybody anything but me. And so I think I look at things a little differently when I'm trying to make a decision, and I try to operate it just as I did in my own business. I also think that because of my surveying background, I brought a lot of things to the court that they haven't had in the past. I've worked with civil engineers most of my career. We're having projects going on with our transportation plan. We have regular meetings with the engineers. We have regular meetings with TxDOT. I talk their language, I talk their lingo, I understand what they're talking about. I'm able to have input in those conversations. But one of the things I brought to the court that I was not expecting was my first day on the job a little over a year ago. I came in and Amanda, my administrative assistant, was in there, and I had all these messages, and they were all pretty tacky about something going on in the courthouse with maintenance or janitorial service. And I said, Amanda, what are they calling me for? Why aren't they calling the maintenance department? And she said, Judge, you're head of the maintenance department. And I said, oh boy. So, you know, through the years, I've owned several commercial buildings in Greenville. I've gutted 3 buildings and renovated them through the years. Over 30 years, I've had 6, I think, or 7 commercial buildings that I've had to maintain and take care of. And so I think bringing that talent to the job has been very beneficial for me. Thank y'all for being here, and I appreciate it, and I hope to get your vote.
Thank you, Judge Stovall. Mr. Atkins, you may now make your closing statement.
As we move forward in our future, we need to really start looking at how we can bring our county into the modern era. One of the things that you need to look at is both candidates here have a considerable amount of business operation and management experience. But this is a conservative county, and we've always been a conservative county. And we have conservative beliefs and principles that we must stand by. We have watched over the last number of years as our county government has overtaxed us more than what they should and by policy are supposed to. We've seen high right at the very maximum limit that can be charged to us for the last 2 years, this last year especially, and they've become a burden to people. We need to bring economic reality back to the Commissioners Court. We need to make sure that tax burdens are reduced on our citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, of you who signed that petition for Greenville to get the taxes froze on people that are over 65, what the county has done to you was a lot worse than what Greenville did to you in this last year. Our taxes are a burden to the citizens of this county. And when you run your effective rate, your tax rate up to 1/10,000th of a penny below what people can, before they can have a voice in it, and say you're trying to run an efficient and proper county government, that is just not happening. You need to pay attention to what's going on with your tax rate and your tax values. Thank you very much. I hope you'll give me an opportunity to serve you as a county judge.
Please give the candidates a hand. We will now give a few moments for the state representative candidates to make their way to the stage. Alrighty. We will now begin with the candidates for State Representative, House District 2. The three candidates for this position are seated before you. Mr. Dwayne Collins, Dr. Dwayne Collins, you may now make your opening statement.
Thank you. And I want to thank the Hunt County Republican Party for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to you. I'm Dwayne Collins, known in my community as Doc. I've been a veterinarian for 50 years, as well as being married to my beautiful wife over here, Ann, for 50 years. We started our life together with me fulfilling my commission as a captain in the United States Army. It's been a beautiful life. We've been blessed with 3 daughters, 5 grandchildren. I could write a book that would rival Dr. James Harriet if I had the opportunity to do it. And maybe I'll slow down one day and do just that. After 50 years, Ann and I should be in the retired mode. We should be traveling and enjoying things, but I don't like what's happening in Austin. We have a House and a Senate controlled by the Republicans. All elected officials statewide are Republicans. Yet we see high taxes, we see the shift of dynamic in this state to the left. And a prime example is property tax relief. We've been promised for quite some time property tax relief, but that didn't happen. Our legislators were charged with our priorities. They hadn't come through with them. If you let me, I'll take those priorities, I won't abandon them, and I'll fight for you in Austin. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Representative Flynn, you may now make an opening statement.
Thank you very much, and I thank the Hunt County GOP for allowing us to have this opportunity, and I appreciate all the citizens that have come out this evening. My name is Dan Flynn. I've had the honor of representing House District 2, and I look forward to continuing that service. I had a very successful career in the banking industry. I had a successful career in the military, and I'm looking forward to continuing service in the Texas House. I've always said that my priorities are to make every vote that I make based on moral conviction, faith in God, and faith in the people of Texas.
I believe that if you analyze my voting record, that I've upheld that and supported faith, family, and freedom. And all of the things that are happening in Texas are very positive. Everyone looks at Texas as a leader throughout the nation, and we're about the 7th largest economy in the world, and we've maintained $118 billion in the budget, and we've continued to address all those priorities that need to be. I made the amendment to try to freeze property taxes and at the appraisals, and it is those things that we continue to work with and continue to serve. I'm the one that's funded or passed the Second Amendment note for the churches to be able to protect themselves, and it came out pretty good because just recently in a church we were able to avoid a mass shooting, and
Thank you,
that
Representative Flynn. Mr. Slayton, you may now make an opening statement.
Hello, my name is Brian Slayton. Good evening to all of you. I'm a Christian conservative. I was in the ministry for 13 years, now do taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll at our family business. Some of you know me, I've ran before. I got over 53% of the vote here in Hunt County. Hunt County's been just fantastic to me, and I appreciate the support, and we're looking to get over the hump. And some of you, we first made our introductions. Whenever there was a toll road, they were trying to put in the western part of the county, if you remember that. And when I called and asked for help for that, we were told, why are you fighting it? You can't stop it. Well, we proved them wrong. We stopped that toll road, and after we did, the man from Dallas admitted the road wasn't even needed. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to represent you down in Austin. You know, this district has conservative representation. We have Congressman Ratcliffe, one of the strongest conservative congressmen up in D.C. We have Senator Bob Hall, who's ranked the most conservative senator in Texas. And of course, we have Donald Trump, who's fighting for our values. I went up to Wisconsin and knocked doors for him back in 2016. I am concerned what's going on in the state of Texas, the corruption that has occurred in mainly the Speaker's Chamber, and I want to make you proud down in Austin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Representative Flynn, what are the primary issues that the Texas House should address in the education arena during the coming sessions?
I think we will always have at the top of our list of protection of property tax and reform of that. I think we did step one because as we did the public House Bill 3, it worked out very well for our public education. We continued, if you school teachers in the audience, you know that there was probably the best House bill for, and it passed in many years. We've also there to protect pensions, and I think that one of the things that are very important that everyone needs to understand that is 10 years, time for redistricting, and we need to be sure that we have senior representation so that we don't get dragged into the Dallas area, but can continue to fight to be sure that we maintain a voice in East Texas. Also, I think that the continuation of those things that we've been doing and making Texas strong. I continue to work on the border, continue to work with President Trump on building that border wall. We will always defend our protection there. We will protect the unborn. I was the author of the heartbeat bill. And also the rule of law, which we were able to pass the bill to outlaw Sharia law in Texas to protect all the women, because you don't want to be under Sharia law, and that's something that could have happened. It's a model bill for the rest of the nation, and we're believing that Texas is in a good shape.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Mr. Slayton, what are the primary issues that the Texas House should address in the education arena during the coming sessions?
Yes. So with education, of course, if any of you know, I got family that's teachers, retired teachers. My Sunday school teachers growing up were teachers. And you know, teachers are sometimes taken advantage of by administrators and by politicians. And you know, that's where education happens. Of course, the student's the most important in the classroom, right? And any money we get to education, we have to make sure that's in the classroom to the student and to the teachers. One thing we have to get rid of is the standardized testing. Any teachers in here know about that? And in fact, I'm probably the only candidate in this race that has been a substitute teacher. And as I was a substitute teacher, I had to help teach to this test. And also, I'm the only candidate in the race race that has actually taken one of these standardized tests. They're terrible. Education, well, and so another thing about education, we need to make sure now we get money to the classroom, to the student and teacher, but we also have to make sure what we're focusing on. We have to focus on teaching critical thinking skills in reading, and we have to stop some of the craziness that's going on in some of these school districts like Austin and Houston and the things they're doing. They're not promoting education, they're promoting their liberal agenda, and nothing's been done to stop them. And Republicans have had control of the Texas House for almost 20 years.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Please remember that once all candidates have given an initial response, you can request a rebuttal by raising your placard in front of you. Dr. Collins, what are the primary issues that the Texas House should address in the education arena during the coming sessions?
Well, I'm the educational candidate. I've served on the board of the largest community college in this state. We have now 90,000 students going to Lone Star College. I was there at its inception. I know schools. I dealt with the schools in North Houston area and Harris County. We must get the dollars to the classroom, to the teachers, to the students. I am a product of the public school system. My brother, retired superintendent, distinguished career in public schools. My sister, a public school teacher. I benefited from public schools. I entered college 2 weeks after graduating from high school. Never got out a semester. Took full loads, 20 hours in some semesters. Graduated from Texas A&M with 2 degrees in 5 years with 250 college credit hours, an 8-year education in a 5-year time. What enabled me to do that? Good public schools. They're the backbone of education in this state, and we need to support them, but we need to get those dollars where they count, to the classroom, to the teacher, to the student, to the parents. There's too much spent in other areas. So that's my thoughts on education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Mr. Slayton, you have 30 seconds for a response.
Thank you, and I'd like to add yes. I mean, we got education needs. You hear about it, but we have more mega super high school stadiums. We got Megatron scoreboards. We have indoor practice facilities. So the schools are getting the money, or they wouldn't be able to build this. Now there are some school districts that aren't getting it, but that's right. We have to do some things. We have to bring conservative legislation to help the future of public education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Dr. Collins?
Yes, if you figure we, on an average, $12,000 a student per year, add that up, 24 students to a classroom, that's a chunk of change, $250,000. How much does that teacher get paid? $55,000. Where's the rest of that money going? That teacher needs to be rewarded. We need to put it in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Seeing no other rebuttals are requested, we will move to the next question. Dr. Collins, what strategies would you want the next Speaker of the House to employ to be most effective in advancing our conservative goals?
Well, first of all, we need a Speaker of the House that is conservative. We haven't had one. We've had some mediocre. Speaker Strauss was an anomaly, elected by 11 Republicans and the rest were Democrats. We've caucused now. We've elected our Speaker from the Republican Party. But yet we've got a Speaker this time who was trading political favors. He decided not to run again, which is a good thing. We should have gone ahead and taken him out and replaced him, but that didn't happen. And our incumbent backed that Speaker to the hilt all the way to the day that he decided not to run again. The Speaker needs to be replaced. I know the procedure is that we've got to wait until a regular session to do that, but that's a reflection on us as Republicans to keep a corrupt Speaker, the Speaker of the House. We have the majority. We should take the steps to take him out and replace him with a better candidate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. You will have the opportunity to respond after all initial responses are completed. Representative Flynn. What strategies would you want our next Speaker of the House to employ to be most effective in advancing our conservative goals?
I think the Speaker of the House is the Republican caucus is caucusing, and we try to have, and we have had in the last two speakers really, supported by the Republican caucus unanimously, and they were voted on unanimously by everyone there. When the Speaker had challenges that came out, I think it was addressed very quickly, and the proper method has been taken care of, and the Republican Party has gone along with how it's been handled. As far as what he needs to do, the Speaker needs to be someone who will select conservative leadership in our committees. This last legislative session was considered a very big success by the Governor of the state of Texas, the Lieutenant Governor, major groups down there, the Texas Conservative Coalition, even the Texas Public Policy Foundation believed that this was a good, solid legislative session for us. We did address, as I mentioned earlier, the House Bill 3, which took care of public education, where for the first time we gave money into the school districts that they could, their own board of directors could direct how they wanted to spend that money. And also, just for the record, I did substitute teaching for a year before I became a legislator.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Mr. Slayton, what strategies would you want the next Speaker of the House to employ to be most effective in advancing our conservative goals?
So if you look at how we vote around the state of Texas, we vote for Republicans. We have statewide office holders, we have the House of Representatives, we have control, the Senate we have control. I expect a Speaker of the House to help those that are elected, the state representatives, to represent the people of their district. What we've seen since Speaker Strauss is we've seen a speaker that has taken power from the district, which means he's taken power from you. He's taken your vote and your influence with your state legislator and put it all into these committee chairmen. And they have all the power. And I'll give you an example. Not only, as you heard, not only is the speaker, he's been caught in a real quid pro quo. Not the stuff they're doing to Trump. Real. Caught him on tape. As he lied about it. And then as it was caught and the audio played, our incumbent was defending him. And then you have the chairman of public safety. Here's one way I wouldn't help Texas. I wouldn't put Democrats as chairman. Pancho Navarez, the chairman of public safety. He's a Democrat. That's our gun bills and our border bills. He was arrested in the airport in Austin with distribution levels amount of cocaine in his state envelope. Both of those gentlemen, Speaker Bonnet and Representative Navarez, did not resign from their position. They're still there getting a paycheck, and their pension goes up every month they're there, and our incumbent hasn't spoken out against her. I would speak out against corruption.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Any candidates like the response? Dr. Collins, you have 30 seconds.
Yes, this is from the Texas Tribune. The Heritage Bank was founded by Representative Dennis Bond, Speaker of the House, who was President and CEO. Dan Flynn had investments and leadership ties to that bank. He served on the bank board. Did that shade your decision, Mr. Flynn?
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Representative Flynn, you have 30 seconds.
I didn't understand the rules on the clarification. I understood we were not direct comments to others, but there was a question asked. I would like to be able to answer that question.
You do have 30 seconds to respond for each question, so you can take advantage of that time if you'd like to.
I was an investor in a bank. I was on the board, and as soon as it became a problem, I resigned from that board immediately.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Do you have anything else to add? Still have some time left. Okay. Mr. Slayton?
Yes. I would also like to add, after the session ended, there's many conservative groups upset with what happened with this session. They didn't think we got our conservative agendas passed. But what we did see is a Democrat tweeted that they were bragging they got a major party platform plank passed, and that was funding for pre-K. So under a Republican-controlled House, Senate, and Governor's office, they got a major plank passed. We can't get ending taxpayer-funded lobbying, which we voted against that, or constitutional carry passed.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Moving on to the next question.
We'll get to everybody.
Unfortunately, you only get one rebuttal per question. So after this next question, after all responses are done, you will have another chance to respond. Mr. Slayton, the next question is, what are you willing and able to do in the Texas House to address border security?
Yes, as I mentioned, we don't need Democrats in charge of the committee that handles border security. Amen? I mean, these are not the Democrats of your parents and grandparents, okay? And so one thing, a couple things, we need to encourage the governor to use the Texas Rangers. They've been used in Texas history 5 times. And each time they were called into service, they worked themselves out of a job. And the Texas Rangers, they're doing the best they can, but they haven't been turned loose to help turned loose to help secure our border. But like I say, the main things we have to do is we have to support President Trump, try to get funding for the wall, do everything we can to take away the deterrence. For instance, here in Texas, almost 20 years Republican control, we still have magnets that are drawing people here. Free in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. My cousin, born in Rowlett, moved to Arizona, wanted to come back here and go to school. She couldn't go with in-state tuition rates. She'd been here most of her life. But an illegal immigrant could come in, and then they could get a discounted rate. Why are we doing that, Texas? I mean, is that what you want your tax dollars to go to? And so those are some things we should do.
Thank you, Mr. Slately. Dr. Collins, what are you willing and able to do in the Texas House to address border security?
I'm the only one on this stage that's actually worked the border. I belong to the Texas Border Volunteers, a volunteer group that puts themselves in harm's way at the busiest checkpoint along our entire southern border, just south of Pierce, north of McAllen. We station in the mesquite and cactus at night with our night vision. When we see illegals coming across, we report them to the Border Patrol. We worked with the Border Patrol in setting up Operation Drawbridge. That's the cameras that were placed along the border to alleviate a lot of personnel. The monitors are actually in place, Lamar Street and downtown Austin. That's where they're monitored from. And they were called the Border Patrol when they spot the illegals coming across. So I know firsthand what happens at the border. We need the wall, we need a lot more manpower down there, but it is a federal problem. I have some influence with some of our elected officials. Lance Gooden, my congressman, I'm on speed dial with him. I know Ted Cruz, more so his dad. His dad and I are personal friends, and they hear from me quite often. And we need somebody with influence like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Representative Flynn, what are you willing and able to do in the Texas House to address border security?
I'm doing it. I'm the chairman of the Defense Committee in Veterans Affairs. I have been on the border more than anyone in this room. I've spent countless hours in gunboats, helicopters, and I worked with Nim Kidd, who is a Homeland Security Authority, and the Department of Public Safety, Mr. Steve McCraw, our Parks and Wildlife and local law enforcement, and the Texas Military Department. It concerns all of us that militia groups or vigilante groups are there because they create additional problems for us to have to be able to worry about where they are and what they're doing. The problem Ronald Reagan always says is so many of our friends, they just know so much about so little.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Dr. Collins, you have 30 seconds for a response.
I take exception to that. I've probably been down there more hours. We actually worked with the DPS. For 5 years, we were the ones that operated Operation Drawbridge to help them get it established. There is a way that we as citizens can help. I know firsthand, I put myself in harm's way. Last time I was down there, I had 5 illegals pass within 20 feet of me in the wee hours of the morning. I know what it is to be down there, not just for photo ops. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Mr. Slayton, you have 30 seconds.
So I've been to numerous Republican meetings after session, and I've always heard, with strong acclamation. We secured the border, and we put this much money into it. You know, we haven't secured the border. In fact, there are a lot of people coming across that are other than Mexican. These are people from countries who want to hurt us. We need every resource, even citizens, because it's a problem. It's not going to fix itself, and it's all hands on deck to secure our border for our families and our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Representative Flynn, you have 30 seconds.
I appreciate him taking exception, but he doesn't know everything. And there are a lot of folks that are working hard. It does concern us when we have vigilante groups down there, because we don't know who they are. We really don't. The Department of Public Safety has done an outstanding job of continuing to patrol. So is the Parks and Wildlife, so is Homeland Security, and I have been there for far more than a photo op. As a member of the United States of the Texas Military Department and Chairman of the Defense, we have been able to
Thank you,
assure
Representative Flynn. Moving on to the next question. Representative Flynn, there are widely varying assessments of the success of Republicans in the last legislative session. Some lauding the success, while on the other end of the spectrum, some describe it as turning purple. What is your assessment?
There's no question that the Democrat Party is pouring a lot of money down here. Unfortunately, in most of our primaries, we're having a lot of people that are pouring huge amounts of money into our primaries and allowing our members to get beat up pretty good, and then they're letting the Democrats just have a free ride, and they have been able to take advantage of what's happened in Republican primaries by growing themselves. And that's something that I think that is resonating with everyone, that we're going to have a stronger approach of how we're going to do it, and I think the Republican Party is stepping out and doing better leadership, and we have the Republican caucus that's also working to do that. I do not think Texas is purple. I think that we have the number of the 7th largest economy in the world. We're got a budget that's bigger than, well, our rainy day fund is larger than most budgets. We have a balanced budget. We've been able to secure all of the major issues. 80% of our budget goes to health care and public education. So a lot of that has to already be pre-designed to what we do. But the bottom line is, Texas is the India of the United States. Every state would love to be where Texas is. We've had good leadership. Our governor has strong leadership. Our lieutenant governor has. And everybody has their own opinion of whether or not we're doing exactly what they want to do. I think the idea is, the bottom line, Texas is doing very well.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Mr. Slayton, there are widely varying assessments of the success of Republicans in the last legislative session. Some lauding success, while on the other end of the spectrum, some describe it as turning purple. What is your assessment?
It wasn't a good session. When we have Democrats bragging that they passed major party platform planks, they're in the end zone spiking the football. And what are we doing? What do we have? Well, we have legislative priorities that the delegates go to wherever the state convention is and come up with. We have constitutional carry. That is a Republican Party platform plank. It has been killed every session, and guess who the chairman was each time? The Democrat over public safety, who dropped his cocaine at the airport in Austin. And there's an affidavit for his DNA, and it was his. But anyway, he's the one helping kill constitutional carry. I'm sorry, my mic cut out. Then you have abortion. You know, abolishing abortion is a Republican Party platform priority. Amen? We need to get rid of that terrible act. Well, there is a heartbeat bill. 13 states passed the heartbeat bill, including the Democrats in Louisiana. Texas couldn't even get a hearing on that bill. We didn't cap our growth in state government. They tried to cap counties and cities, their budget, but they wouldn't cap their own. So we're not, if the Democrats are coming, we're not passing things that will protect us and at least leave a stamp. We were here as Republicans.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Dr. Collins, there are widely varying assessments of the success of Republicans in the last legislative session. Some lauding success, while on the other end of the spectrum, some describe it as turning purple. What is your assessment?
Like I said, the dynamics in our state keep shifting to the left, despite the fact that we have a majority of Republicans in office and have had for 20 years. We didn't get all our priorities passed. Constitutional carry didn't even get considered. Abortion is near and dear to my heart. If I'm elected, I'll be probably the only one in Austin that's been arrested for sitting down in front of an abortion clinic. Did that many years ago with Operation Rescue, and I've been asked many times, did you think that did any good? It brought awareness to the abortion issue in the early years. I knew it was going to continue on, not just in the early stages of abortion, but all the way to where we see it now in some states. Abortion is an abomination to God. I've been asked, did we do any good? I can answer this, that one day in the city of Houston, at the largest abortion clinic in the state, no babies died. And maybe one of those women changed their mind. I'll never know. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Mr. Slayton, you have 30 seconds.
Yes, and I would like to say it's about strategy. You know, the Democrats went after New York, they went after California. And what's the best strategy when they're coming? Is it go along to get along, appease, don't make waves, do nothing? Or do we dig in? Do we do what hardly anyone has done against the Democrats? Stand up for our values. Be proud to be against abortion. Be proud to want our Second Amendment rights restored. Fully. Out of time.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Representative Flynn, would you like to respond?
As I said earlier, I've been the author of just about, or a co-author or joint author of every pro-life bill that has gone through the Texas legislature since I've been there. I will continue to be. I was the author of the heartbeat bill, and we were working very hard to get it. As far as the constitutional carry, I think the NRA is working on something that we can all be able to embrace. The bills that have come up were not bills that could be adequately enforced.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Dr. Collins, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. Back to the abortion issue. I'm proud to announce that I've been endorsed by the Texas Right to Life for my activities and my passion to end abortion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. We will now move on to our next question because all candidates have been given the opportunity to respond. Mr. Slayton, Democratic leadership believes they can turn Texas purple. What can the House do to help convince Texan voters that voting Republican is the best option for Texas?
Well, you have to give them something to get excited about. You have to, you look back when we've had control for 20 years, we put in the margins tax. So the state constitution says that we can't have an income tax. But what did the legislature do in 2007? They passed something worse than an income tax, the state margins tax. It's so bad that only 25% of people are even under it now, but there's more people paying someone like me to calculate if they owe the franchise tax that are actually paying the tax. Talk about burdensome, okay? And we have to, like I say, advance our rights. We need to also give real property tax relief. And we didn't get that this past session. It just goes on and on. With constitutional carry. Do you know over 30 states have constitutional carry? Over some version of it. And in fact, you can go to Oklahoma and you can constitutional carry all the way to Canada. And in Texas, we can't get a hearing. So what we have to do is just do and try to pass legislation while we have the votes. And that will energize our voters. But whenever we don't pass our items, our legislative priorities, instead we're focused on getting rid of daylight savings time, how are we going to motivate our people to trust us to do a job for them next time?
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Dr. Collins, Democratic leadership believes they can turn Texas purple. What can the House do to help convince Texan voters that voting Republican is the best option for Texas?
It's not just the House, it's every one of us. It's every one of us Republicans that need to get out there and tout our values. I'm at the forefront of that. I've engaged our minority communities in my area. I had Alan West, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, who is running for our party chair, our state party chair. I had him at Roseland Plantation, engaged the high schools in Tyler, in Van Zandt County, and the surrounding area. We had a February Black History Month event there. We had John Tyler sent in their students, bused in their students. They heard from Alan West. I went to Juneteenth celebration in Tyler, the busiest or biggest celebration of the entire minority community. Over 2,000 of the minority community was there. I set up a Republican booth. I registered voters. I was almost the only white guy there. Hey, we got a message. We got the message to take to other groups, minorities. We're the party of inclusion. We're the party of values. Their values and our values as social issues are the same. The others will work out. That's what we need to do. All of us, not just those that are elected. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Representative Flynn. Democratic leadership believes they can turn Texas purple. What can the House do to help convince Texan voters that voting Republican is the best option for Texas?
Probably one of the first things is quit beating up each other, because that's what happens is we seem to go after our own people. And Ronald Reagan always said, if you're with me 80% of the time, you're not my enemy. As far as where we're focusing, I think all of us are focusing on minority groups. I spent my time on the Martin Luther King's birthday here in Hunt County, working with all of our folks through Texas A&M Commerce. And I've spent many hours with a lot of our other minority groups. I think that our values are exactly what their values are. And I think it is taking it to them, and that's why we've been doing that. And I believe that there's a lot of hype about George Soros bringing money down here, and that's exactly what they're going to do. We need to get together and be sure that we come together as a Republican group, and not only come together as a Republican group, but find those issues where we all agree upon and go for it. And those issues are very strong. We want to secure a border. We want to be sure that we protect life. We want to be sure that we do work on public education. And we need to protect our pensions. Goodness, we've got groups out there trying to do away with pensions of people that have had their 30, 40 years of work, and then all of a sudden there's groups that want to do 401ks. We're not going to do that for public school teachers. We're not going to do that for public employees.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Mr. Slayton, you have 30 seconds.
Yes, and all I'd like to say, Chairman Flynn, is, first 10 years you were in, you scored the highest. You were one of the top-rated conservatives in the Texas House, and I tell everybody you deserve a big pat on the back for that. Did a great job, but something changed in 2012. And, if you were getting 80s, I probably wouldn't have ran against you. You're getting C's and D's. And endorsed by Texas Alliance for Life, who endorses pro-choice candidates. That's why I'm running.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. I'm supposed to remind candidates to address the table over here instead of candidates directly next to you.
Yes.
Representative Flynn, you have 30 seconds.
Texas Alliance for Life is one of the strongest pro-life groups in the state of Texas, in the country. Joe Poyman has done an outstanding job of standing up for pro-life and for those that are needed protection and more. Some of the other pro-life groups have a lot of other strings behind them, and I think that all of the other pro-life groups have been very strong in supporting me, and I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Dr. Collins, you have 30 seconds.
Back to the main subject. A lot of you, I wish would have been there. I put on a program here in your city with President Trump's 2020 regional director. It was on the front page of your paper, Keenan Williams. Excellent presentation. I had some other minority groups there to engage, and I wish all of you would have been there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. We will now move into closing statements. Mr. Slayton, you may begin.
Well, as you've heard us discuss, the Democrats are coming for Texas. Bloomberg's sending a lot of money. He's not even focused on Iowa. And you know, we have to defend our values. And when we have the heartbeat bill, it doesn't even get a committee hearing. And like I mentioned, 13 states have passed it, including the Democrats in Louisiana. Constitutional carry cannot get a hearing, but over 30 states have it. We have to fight for our values. And, you know, I understand the primary process is a great time to discuss the issues. And I'm endorsed by Texas Right to Life and Texas Alliance for Life. If you know Congressman Kay Granger, she was on MSNBC and told the world, well, the few people that watch that show, told the world that she was a pro-choice Republican. And that's who Texas Alliance for Life endorsed. And Texas Right to Life does not endorse pro-choice Republicans. I'm also endorsed by the retired Dallas police officers. After what happened to their pensions in Chairman Flynn's committee, they made sure to come to me and tell me that everyone who's getting a pension, whether it's police officer or state, they need to know what happened, and they supported me. I've been standing up and fighting for conservative principles since I've been involved. And I want to go down to Austin. And you know, the way I see it, I say I want to go to Austin and represent you. Let me finish that sentence. And you know, there's only one option. You can either make Austin happy or you can make the district happy. It's impossible to do both. Austin is a mess. Does anybody, Austin is terrible. I have a friend that works for a congressman. He also worked in the state house. And he referred to DC as a swamp and Austin as a sewer. We deserve strong representation, and I want to be the one to represent you down in Austin. My name is Brian Slayton, and I'd appreciate your vote on March 3rd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Representative Flynn, you may now begin your closing statement.
The Dallas Police Association has been very supportive of me, and they know that they have a pension because of the things that we did during that particular session. As far as what the future is, I think that we will continue to keep our borders secure. We will continue to defend freedoms of the Second Amendment. And as I said earlier, I'm real proud of the fact that we passed that law that allowed the churches to be able to continue to have a security. As far as protection of the unborn, I believe we will continue to do so, and I continue to believe that and know the difference between the pro-life groups in Texas, those who are just trying to increase their money, and those that are out doing the walks for the unborn. The rule of law, I think it's a challenge that every one of us need to know, and every lady in this audience should be very pleased that in Texas, we will only honor Texas law. As far as what the future for the Republican Party is, I think it's bright.
Thank you, Representative Flynn. Dr. Collins, you may now begin your closing statement.
Thank you. I have a passion for Texas in this United States that knows no bounds. I've served my community and my country. I've served my country in the U.S. Army. I've served my community as a volunteer firefighter and first responder. I've been a delegate to the state conventions ever since 2010. I was a Trump delegate at the national convention. I have fought for Republican conservative ideas, and all my life, the country and Texas is at a crossroads. We can either continue with the status quo of what we're seeing, the swamp, and yes, there is a swamp. There are 17,000 paid legislators in Austin, Texas. You're pulled from every angle, and a lot of people succumb to that. But I will not do that, I can guarantee you. I've never done that, and I never will. I want to go to Austin to represent you. I do see the storm clouds gathering. We have lost every major city in our state. They're now under the control of Democrats. I have neighbors from California that have moved here 10 years ago that said they see the same thing happening in Texas that happened in California. We don't need that to happen here in Texas. If we lose Texas, we lose the nation. If the Democrats get Texas, they'll have enough electoral votes to control the presidency from here on out. We do not need to let that happen. You need strong conservatism in the Texas House, and I'm the person that I believe I'll do that for you. Look up my website, doc4tx.com, for you folks on Facebook, and check me out. I think you'll like what you see. I appreciate your vote on March the 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Please give the candidates a round of applause. And now, closing remarks by Chairman David Hill.
Well, one of the things is we close. We live in a wonderful country, a representative form of government, and we can only have a representative form of government where candidates put themselves before us for our consideration. And I'd ask that you give a round of applause to all the candidates who put themselves up for your consideration. Another thing, we can only have good elections. We have good election workers. And I can't be up here as Republican Party chairman with the responsibility of putting on an election without asking you if you'd like to work as an election clerk or election judge. Please call the party office, and we'd love to put you to work on election day, working in an election if that's something you'd be interested in. Final announcements. Tonight, we did candidates from county commissioner, county judge, and state representative. On Tuesday, February the 11th, we will have another forum, same bat time, same bat place, for candidates for constable, county attorney, and sheriff. And we'd ask that you consider. The other thing that makes elected government work is interested voters like you coming and informing yourselves. And we thank you for being here tonight. Like I said, that'll be here at Paul T. Matthews Auditorium. Doors will open at 6. Program starts at 6:30. If you get a chance, check us out on Facebook, the GOP Club Facebook page. Like it, and you'll get the announcements. And then finally, I want to say a special thank you to Larry Ellis and the radio station here in Greenville for their partnership here with us tonight to put this on. They've been a big help. So with that, thank you very much, and thank you for being here.
This video has been brought to you by Juice 34. Juice is your community-owned provider for electric, internet, cable TV, and true local programming.